Welcome to Speed Vector, the podcast dedicated to the art, risk, and obsession of speed flying. I'm your host, Victor Garcia, speed flyer, skydiver, cinematographer, Navy veteran, and full-time gravity junkie. Every week, we dive into the lines we fly, the gear we trust, and the stories that push us past the ridge and into the void. Whether you're just learning to launch or chasing the perfect line, this is where speed flyers come to connect, learn, and stoke the fire. This is Speed Vector.
What is up, Sky fam? This is episode 4, Speed Vector podcast. It's episode 4. Wow. I apologize for the delay in releasing the episodes. I just put out episode 3, which was 2 or 3 weeks late, and this is now episode 4, which is going to launch probably right at the same time. If you listen to them in chronological order, you will understand. So if you're on episode 4 and you haven't heard episode 3, go back to episode 3 and listen, and it will explain the delay in podcast uploads. Little injury update for you. I'm 2 weeks to the day removed from the injury occurring, and I am 1 week to the day removed from surgery. So last podcast I had not been seen by the orthopedic surgeon yet, and then I ended up going in, I think that day or the next day, and being seen. And it turns out that I did need surgery, and I got it on the following day, which was Friday. So last Friday. Today is June 27th, 2025, which is also Friday. I was injured on June 13th, Friday the 13th, and my surgery was on Friday, June 20th. So yeah, 2 weeks removed from injury, 1 week removed from surgery, and I have 6 weeks to wait, hopefully less, maybe not, hopefully not more, from that June 20th date of surgery. Feeling a lot better. It was pretty rough week, the week post-injury, pre-surgery, and but even more rough was the 3 or 4 days post-surgery. That was, absolutely awful. Could not get comfortable, so much pain, didn't matter what I did, didn't matter what I took. They prescribed me hydrocodone and Motrin, and it didn't do anything. I mean, if it did, I can't even imagine what it would have felt like without it on board, because that was rough. I'm talking 12 out of 10 pain, just excruciating. It felt like my foot was getting sledgehammered while simultaneously my leg was getting sandpapered, and I just could not find relief, and it was awful. They ended up prescribing me oxycodone, which I took for a couple of days, but I really don't like that stuff. It makes me feel funky and kind of nasty and sick. And then thankfully, 2.5 days ago, so it'd be Wednesday afternoon, I realized that once the pain meds wore off, I realized that I was actually feeling a little bit better, and I probably didn't need them. So I switched back to hydrocodone and Motrin, and then I guess yesterday just took Motrin in the morning and then took it before bed, and I was okay. I mean, it hurts, but it's not it's a 3 out of 10 instead of a 12. So that's good. We're moving in the right direction. Still obviously taking it way easy. I did wake up from surgery with a cast. So they got rid of the boot. The surgeon said, yep, you needed a cast for that one. I do still have a broken leg, but what they actually operated on was my ankle. So when my foot caught the tire rut in the field there in the LZ, it caught my toes and it ripped my foot 90 degrees to the right really violently. And that's what ultimately broke my fibula, but all that force, that energy had to go somewhere. So it tore basically the tendons that hold, or the ligaments rather, that hold my tib and my fib to my foot or to my ankle, tore those, and then blew out the membrane that basically runs between your, I guess, your fibula and your tibia. So essentially what they did was they went in, and I haven't seen my leg or my foot without a cast on, but the way they described it is they made a couple of decisions, went in, and they basically just sutured my bones closer together, because when I blew out those ligaments or tendons or whatever they are, it created a space between my ankle, like the ball of my ankle, and like my foot or something. I'm sorry, my anatomy and physiology is a little rusty. I was a Navy corpsman. I should probably know this a little bit better, but it's a little rusty, so bear with me. Could be speaking out of turn here, but essentially there was a space, and those ligaments were not, or tendons, whatever, they were not going to heal properly. So they put in 4 pins, and they used those pins as anchor points to basically like ratchet my bones closer together, which is probably why it hurt so dang bad post-surgery, because man, like that was brutal. I mean, I woke up in pain, you know, it was like one of those. It wasn't like, I don't know, there wasn't a lot they could do. So anyway, but I'm on the up and up. Today's 1 week post-surgery, so I've got 5 more weeks to go. I do have a follow-up appointment early July, hoping that that's a good prognosis that comes out of that, and maybe it'll be less. But even still, you know, it'll be a while before I'm actually flying. You know, once I'm cleared to like do daily activities, I'll be going back to work, which is great. I'll be in physical therapy, which is great. I'll start ground handling. But in terms of actually getting off the ground, that might need to wait a little bit. The doctor was saying, or the surgeon was saying rather, that it's probably going to be, you know, a longer road to back to impact sports, but that, you know, I should be good to go, you know, hopefully in the fall. And then I'll be good for ski season and stuff. So that's also my livelihood in the winter. So it's kind of important, but, you know, I do miss flying. I do want to get back to it. I am really excited to start ground handling. But it's still, you know, over a month away. So I'm just taking it one day at a time, trying not to think about it too broadly. I'm keeping my world small, because, you know, you start dwelling on what does 5 weeks look like on the couch, or in my case, it'll be 7 weeks because of the, you know, it's been a week and 1 week prior, you know, being injured on the couch. It's a long time. It's a long time for anybody, but especially for people that are wired like I am, which is go, be outside, be on your feet, work hard, play hard, you know. I've got 2 really physical jobs. I love, you know, trail running with my girlfriend, and, you know, with my dogs, and, you know, mountain biking and hiking, and obviously flying. And like, there's just like a lot of stuff that I do, and none of that entails sitting on the couch. So, yeah, it's been interesting, but we're getting through it. So, and now that I feel better, now that I'm not on the pain meds, I feel like I can be a little bit more productive, get stuff done, feel like I'm actually accomplishing something in my life, versus just sitting here and being in pain. So with all that behind us, today's episode, I wanted to talk about the Flare Global line. I absolutely love that wing. I have a 13 meter. I got it in February of 2025. I kited it a little bit February, March. I didn't actually fly it until May, and I did 2 laps, and then I put it to bed again for a little while, and then I eventually was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to pull it back out. And then I think I did like 30 or 40 laps with it, 30 or 40 flights with it, and then I got hurt. So obviously that's, you know, it's got to wait now, but it wasn't the wing's fault. It was 100%, you know, just kind of a fluke accident. It had nothing to do with the wing. Had I been on, something slower and bigger, it might not have happened, but that's not necessarily true. So, I don't know. We'll see. That's one of those things where, hindsight's 2020, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I don't think it was the wing. I think it was a combination of things that I probably talked about in the other episode. I did go back and look at the video, though, of the accident, and I was running the Level Wings Fusion for the first time, and I had the airbag attached to it also for the first time. So I've never run an airbag before speed flying. And my opinion on them beforehand was like, it kind of makes sense because, if you pile in, it might be nice to like have something under you, or even if you slide in a landing, it might be nice. My opinion on that has changed. I will not be running an airbag if I'm simply speed flying. If I'm speed soaring or if I'm just soaring or whatever, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. I really don't see an application for it in the speed flying world. I know that there are people out there that are huge advocates. I just know for a fact, watching the video 100 times, that if I did not have the airbag on, I would not be on the couch right now. I'd probably be out there flying. I wouldn't be broken. Because what happened was those airbags give you like a foot or a foot and a half of extra material under your butt. And when you're swooping, my goal is to not touch the ground with my butt, but it's to get pretty dang close. And that foot margin is actually quite a bit, especially towards the end of a swoop, especially with the line too, which I'll get to. And basically like the airbag touches down, which slows me down and rolls me forward. And I put my feet down, and now I'm sliding on my feet, coming to a stop. Like I'm not going very fast. And, my foot catches and boom, it's broken. I don't think I would have slid that landing in without the airbag. The airbag touching the ground early, in my perception, because I have, hundreds and hundreds of speed flights without an airbag. And I've slid in some landings, like maybe 12, maybe 20. Okay, whatever. 20 landings, maybe 20 slid in. That foot margin, I've been a couple inches off the ground brushing the grass with my butt and then still landed on my feet tippy toes, like at the end of a flare, especially with the line. It's very common, right? So hindsight, like I said, 2020, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Shouldn't have been running the airbag, right? First day on a new harness, I had demoed it before getting a new one, before buying one. Thought it was going to be safer. It's like, yeah, cool. I needed a new harness anyway. I was running the Brave 3. It was I just needed a new one. Did I need it? Maybe not. Did I want one? Yes. Right place, right time, right price. It made sense. But if I could go back, it'd be like, dude, like don't run the airbag. Like, come on, man. But anyway, back to the scheduled broadcasting for this fine day. Let's talk about the line. So what is it, right? It is a speed wing, right, with a Parakite riser system. So what is a Parakite riser system? It is a marvel of engineering is what it is. It's incredible. It's essentially a pulley system that controls the angle of attack or the pitch of your wing. So hands all the way up is full flight. It's pretty steep. It's trimmed really steep. You pull your hands down, you're holding on to this like T-shaped toggle thing with like a loop on it, so you can run it like normal toggles, or you can fish your hand through and hang on to the to like the T-bar thing. Really cool, really comfortable. They're like little pillows. It kind of reminds me of like cutaway handles in skydiving, like pillow cutaway handles. It's like a similar kind of material with like a little hint of neoprene. Pretty awesome, pretty soft touch. It feels good. Reassuring, I would say. They, you pull your hands down to like whatever full flight is, which everybody's arm length is different. So, for me, it's like chest level. It flattens out and powers up. So they almost act like a kite surfing kite, or even just like a regular kite. You can control the amount of power in it by pulling certain lines. So in a kite surfing kite, you've got that handle, you push all the way forward, and the kite is in full flight. So it's not like catching as much wind, I guess. So it's like depowered almost, but it's still flying. And then you pull that handle towards you and it powers up and you start going really fast, and you can do big jumps and stuff. It's similar to that, except with the line and with the reflex system in general, which is what they call their riser set. You want to go really fast and really steep, you put your hands all the way up. You want to fly really flat and slow with like a huge glide ratio, you pull your hands to best glide, which is, for me, like I said, like chest level. Everybody's a little bit different. What's really cool about it, in a nutshell, is that like, A, there's no trim system. So it's one less thing to worry about. But B, it's like that thing stores so much energy that if you go into full flight and you get that thing cooking, and then you pull down on the toggles to best glide, you're going to ascend. Like even on like a no wind day, you're not soaring. It's just like a straight up, like perfect air speed flight. You're going to gain altitude. And then you can fly really slow because of that. So, the glide ratio, and I haven't seen this in writing, but just through my sight picture and kind of like experimenting with it, it goes from like with your hands all the way up, it might be like a 2-to-1, or like a really fast 2-to-1 though, or like even maybe like a 2.5-to-1, to like an 8-to-1 at best glide. So hands to my chest, right? Best glide. It's probably like an 8-to-1. So you have this like broad range of what you can do with it, because you can get into terrain and then you can ascend a little bit and glide out over flat areas. You can also fly it in flatter terrain because of that glide ratio. So you can launch in flatter terrain and you can fly flatter terrain. You just can't put your hands all the way up. You just got to keep them down. It is very different from a traditional speedwing, like very different, just because you're manipulating not just the trailing edge of the wing. The amount of pressure that you feel, like the feedback that you get in the controls, is significantly softer than like an equivalent speedwing, which is a much smaller speedwing. So on Flair's website, they if you look into the line area, like the line portion of it, the 13-meter line mirrors the velocity of a 9-meter speedwing, which is crazy because like if you were to fly a 13-meter, let's say a 13-meter Rapido 3, the Ozone R3, and then immediately fly a 9-meter R3, it would be shocking, the difference, like in everything, in the launch characteristics, in the trim closed piloting characteristics, and the trim open, and the flare, and just the speed, in like the distance and movements that you have to do with your hands and with body roll and stuff to get the wing to do stuff, like night and day, totally different. So I went from a 9-meter Rapidos to the 13-meter line, and the speed is the same. Like I might go maybe a couple miles per hour faster on the 9-meter Rapidos. Like maybe, I did the GoPro GPS thing, and I think I went like 56 with the Rapidos, the 9-meter, and I think I went like 54 with the line. Now, different days, different conditions, different flight dynamics. Like with like that one flight I did 56 with the 9 meter, I did it like in a really, really aggressive, like, I don't know, 170 degree turn to swoop. And at the apex of that dive is when I hit 56. I haven't done that aggressive of a turn yet on the line. So the jig is still up. I think the line might actually be faster. I really do. I think with more energy built up or just doing the same turn, I even just a 90, I think if I could like get the exact altitude and, angle of attack and everything and momentum, all of that same energy built, I think the line would actually fly faster. It's pretty impressive. The other really impressive thing about it is that you can swoop forever with the line. Like, I'm talking like the mellowest 90 degree turn. You can swoop like 200 yards at speed. Like, it holds energy like crazy. But then you can dump the speed. If you go too deep in the brakes when you have too much energy, you're going to pop up. But if you do it at the right time, you can swoop at 50 miles per hour, 150 yards. And then as that energy starts to dissipate, you give it a little bit more input, like more brake input, and it'll pop you up and essentially like almost hit the stall point, but not stall, and just drop you down on your tippy toes, like softest landing ever. It is amazing. I think it was like my second or third to last flight on the day that I hurt myself. I did this like nutty swoop. It was perfect. Went like 100 plus yards, and then at the very end popped up about 4 feet and just like tiptoe landed on my I was almost weightless when I touched the ground, and there wasn't a lot of like surface wind. I mean, it was like a pretty calm morning. It was unbelievably amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like every landing should be like this. It was just so good. And that's something you can do with traditional speed wings. It's just a lot harder to do it because they just don't retain energy as well. Even if you're landing on rears and then switching to toggles, you're still like moving pretty quickly, unless there's a lot of surface wind, and then you can probably do it. But basically, like this flare system, the reflex system, in conjunction with the technology that's also incorporated into the wing itself, which I'll get into here in a minute, is remarkable. So what is the line have that's different? So it's besides the riser group, right? It's got a shark nose. So it's basically like they're smaller cell openings, and they're like at a more aggressive angle downward. So it just maintains ram air pressure more effectively than like a traditional speed wing. You're starting to see it more in like the newer wings, but it's just not as aggressive as the lines. What that does, because it maintains so much air pressure in the cells, is that you can fly at slower speeds, and you also have an extended brake range, which is why the swoops are so good. Another reason why they're good too is because, if you're swooping on your toggles with a traditional speed wing, or really any like skydive canopy, paraglider, anything, you're manipulating just the trailing edge, and it acts as a speed brake. So it just dissipates energy a lot faster. And it's also contorting the wing profile. So the pressurization within the cells, within the wing itself, actually diminishes rapidly too, which is why you don't get as much out of it. If you're flying on your rear risers with the traditional speed wing, you are doing kind of sort of what the reflex system does, in that you're not manipulating just the trailing edge. You're also manipulating like the C lines and the D lines, which are your brake lines. And it's actually changing the angle of attack of the wing without like contorting the wing as much. So you get a little bit more out of it. I don't know. When I first started flying the line, one of my hesitations to like just dive straight into it when I got it was like, I had been told that you have to like really run to get up to speed to launch because it does have a faster launch speed. But what I have found is that with that shark nose, as long as the wing pressurizes efficiently, which is all on how you set it up before you on the ground, before you like clip in and go, it actually launches a lot smoother and easier than like an equivalent speed wing. So like a 9 meter. My 9 meter Rapidos launches like a dream, but it is a little bit more finicky, right? Like it's just the things like a F1 car, like it wants to go. And if there's any kind of wind or if you're running too fast, it has a tendency to overshoot. So you have to like control it a lot more and be a lot more intentional about like getting the wing up slowly and then running versus like just freaking running, which is a good technique for all wings, and even the line. Get the thing up and then take off, then start running. But the shark nose does make launching much easier. It's just weird because you don't get the same feedback through feel that you do with like the 9 meter Rapidos. Like that thing, I get it over my head. I know exactly where it is because I can feel it. Like I can feel it in the brakes. I can feel it in the risers. I can feel it, in my harness basically. And as I'm picking up speed, as I'm sprinting or running, the brake pressure gets more and more intense. I'm not giving it a lot of brake, but you are, you've got a little bit of brake pressure, right? So you're not launching in full flight. So you got a little bit of brake pressure. That pressure gets more and more and more heavy. And then I'm torpedoing and off the ground, and then I'm rolling back into my harness. With the line, because of the reflex, because of the risers, because of everything that's got going on, you don't get the same input. The first, 10 or 15 laps of that thing launches with it, you're taking a leap of faith because you're not getting a lot of feedback. And then, okay, well, the lip is right here, I'm at it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, this feels really good. And then you're flying. So it took me 10 or 15 reps to just feel that out and be like, okay, no, this is actually really solid. This is really solid for this wing. This is what really solid feels like for this wing. And it is super solid. I haven't had a funky launch with that thing. I've probably, out of 100 or so flights on the Rapidos 9 meter, I've had 4 funky launches where I very easily could have crashed if I didn't have the skill to fly out of it. Just divey launches, I screwed up one, just little things. It's easier to make mistakes when you're a little tired or whatever with the 9 meter Rapidos. But I will say, if the air is at all not perfectly smooth, I would prefer a traditional Speedwing over the line, because they do everything well except fly in bumpy air. So if there's choppy, turbulent air, maybe kind of a weird rotor from a terrain feature, some mechanical wind or whatever, mechanical turbulence rather, it is terrifying because, on a traditional Speedwing, what you're taught is to fly with trims closed in turbulence actively. So you're giving a lot of brake input, you're making, not a lot, but you're making little adjustments with your brakes, kind of catching stuff as it happens with the trim closed. The thing about the line is that there is no trim. It's all in your hands. So what you have to do is you essentially go into best glide, which like I said is around chest height for me, and then you're making little corrections flying actively in that configuration, which is a little awkward. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. Honestly, like I've had one really bumpy flight that I should not have been flying. I just didn't realize how bad the conditions were because it looked like all the indicators were pointing the same direction. It looked really laminar. Turns out it was not. That was a week prior to me getting injured. Absolutely freaking terrifying experience. I was so thankful to get on the ground because when you're in best glide with the line, you're getting like an 8-to-1 glide ratio. And really all you want to do is get to the dang ground. So now you're like floating around, getting tossed around like a top. And you really just want to land. So it becomes this dance of like, okay, like I'm going to let my hands up a little bit and see what happens. And I'm still active piloting and stuff or whatever, just filling it out while also trying to like maintain where you're going so that you don't overshoot or undershoot the LZ. Like it's just like a lot. There's a lot going on. And it's not as simple as just closing the trim, getting on the brakes, flying her home, sinking it in kind of deal, which you're not doing on a 9-meter. But either way, it's a different feeling. If it's at all choppy, I want to fly the 9-meter, period. But if it's smooth air, even if it's windy, is fine. It's just, I'm talking like thermals, I'm talking mechanical turbulence, I'm talking like weird stuff like that, you know, like midday flying with the lines, not awesome in the summer. Wintertime, it'll be fine. Spring, it will be fine. Fall, it'll be totally fine. But, you know, any kind of like thermic activity or mechanical turbulence, do not do it. It's not worth it. It is terrifying. But if it's laminar, it could be blowing 20, like my first 2 flights on that thing, it was blowing like 23 miles per hour on launch. Like it was Nuketown. Like it was harder to just like get the wing laid out in a way where I could like make sure my lines were good and clip in. Like that was the hard part. So I ended up doing it like behind my truck and then getting the wing up and then just kiting it over to where I was going to launch because I had kind of parked at the top, you know, and then launched, and like it was like so easy to fly. It was crazy, but it was like a really laminar day, just really strong wind, and was absolutely blown away by how easy it was to fly. It's just, there is a learning curve because you do have to give it quite a bit of input. More so, not really, but more so than you would with like a 9-meter, or even like a regular 13-meter speed wing. And it takes a little bit of getting used to. So that is something to consider, you know, like there is a learning curve. I did kite it for like three hours or something total time before I decided it was time to give it a go. But even still, I was looking like a circus animal up there flailing around. So, but now, you know, by like 6th or 7th lap, I was like, oh, okay, like this actually feels really cool. And then by like 20, I was like, you know, feeling really good and doing, you know, big aggressive turns, flying in the terrain, popping up, you know, doing like a big decent sized turn and doing like a 200-yard swoop and tiptoe landing. So it has ruined me for traditional speed flying. If they were better in choppy air, I would probably never fly a traditional speed wing again because they are that fun and they're that good. And you feel like you have so much control because you do. It's like you can gain a little bit of altitude and fly out of terrain so easily versus on like 9-meter speed wing, like 9-meter Rapidos. If my trim's open and I'm on the rears and I want to fly out of terrain, I'm only able to do that as long as that wing will hold energy, you know? So, which is true with the line too, but the difference is that, you know, I might be getting like maybe a 5-to-1, maybe a 4.5, 5-to-1 glide ratio in best glide with the 9-meter Rapidos, versus 8-to-1 with the line. And that's like, I mean, seriously, like it's insane. Like it and it's like, it doesn't feel mushy. It doesn't feel sketchy. It feels like a fully pressurized speed wing, just flying slower, but still like covering some ground, you know? I mean, as long as you're not flying straight into the wind, if it's a calm day or whatever, you're still cooking, flying flat, you know? You're probably going 35 miles per hour. Then you go full flight, you're going like 60, you know, or close with a 13 meter at my wing loading, which I weigh 160 pounds. My all up weight's 175. So whatever that is in kilograms, I don't know. But my wing loading on the 9 meter Rapidos per square foot is like a 2.1. So the 13 is probably like a 1.5 or 1.6 or something. So pretty lightly loaded, really. I mean, by all, you know, intents and purposes, it's pretty light, but it's remarkable. So if you're interested in a line, I've got a couple of contacts that are reps for them, that are athletes for them, that can get you a little discount probably. I am not. I would like to be, hopefully someday. Definitely go on their website. They have really good YouTube videos about like everything you can think of in regards to all of their wings, and it's pretty helpful info. So you should definitely go on there and check that out if you're interested. There are demos occasionally that come through. I don't know if there's one coming through Washington anytime soon, but if you're anywhere else, you could probably find a rep or like an athlete for them that has demo wings available. I also think they might ship them to you. I don't know. You got to look into that. I'm not really sure. I never demoed one. I just bought one. But yeah, check it out. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it on that. I'm still feeling a little crappy, obviously, with the injury stuff, and I'm kind of running out of steam here pretty quick. Hopefully that wasn't too big of a ramble session. If you have any questions about the line or about speed flying or anything, whatever, just reach out on Instagram, speed_vector. Send me a DM. I really want to do a Q&A podcast, so reach out and we'll get it going. Also, if you have any questions about where to fly in Washington, hit me up. And let's get you linked up with some folks, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for being a part of this, guys. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe on the YouTube if you're watching there. And, make sure you give us a follow on the Instagram, and keep your eyes and ears open for more podcasts coming, because I am planning on getting some guests on, especially whilst I am laid up for the next 5 weeks. So, fly safe, have fun, look cool. See you guys next time. Peace.